Everyone, it's Ms.Salazar and welcome to Grammar. So today we're going to be talking about types of sentences. Now, we're going to be talking about two types of sentences, questions and statements. Now, a question is a sentence that asks something. It begins with capital letter and ends in a question mark. For example, what is the main idea of this card? So this question it starts with capital letter and then it ends in a question mark. So whenever you see, here's the clue, whenever you see a question mark, it's going to be a question. Whenever you see a question mark, it's going to be a question. And the questions, they start with capital letter. Now, a statement is a sentence that tells you something. It gives you information. It's telling you something. It begins with capital letter, just like the questions, but the statements, they end in a period. So questions, they end in question mark, and statements, they end in period. Okay? For example, the main idea is in this card. So the word the starts with the capital T and then it ends in a period. So the main idea is in this card. Is it telling you something? Is this sentence telling you something? Yes, it is. So what is it telling you? What is the sentence telling you? It's telling you that the main idea is in this card. It's giving you information. It starts with capital letter, it ends with a period. Whenever you have a question, it's going to start with capital letter, right? If it's the beginning of the sentence, it's going to start with capital letter and then it ends in a question mark. And the clue is that whenever you see a question mark, it automatically becomes a question. So here you have 6 words. These 6 words, who, what, when, where, why, and how, these 6 words are usually in a question. So most of the time, whenever you see a question, you might see one of these words that start the question. For example, who are you? Who is about a person? What is this? When will you leave? When is about time. It's about time. When? Where is she? Where is about a place. Why did you do this? It's about a reason. Why? It's looking for a reason why. How are you feeling? So usually these words, they start the questions. Now, those are not the only words that are going to be in questions. You also have these other words like is. Is she the one you were talking about? You see, I started with the capital I, the capital letter I, and then I ended with a question mark. It's a question. And I have the word is. Are you feeling okay? Are starts with capital letter A and then it ends with a question mark. Does he know that we are here? Does, it starts with capital letter, ends with a question mark. Do you think I know that? It starts with a capital letter D and it ends with a question. So questions, they always end in a question mark. Okay, and again, questions, they ask you something, and when they ask you something, they are expecting that you respond. In statements, it's just a sentence that tells you something. It's giving you information. A statement doesn't expect you to respond. A question does. A question expects you to respond. It's asking you something. Okay, so how do I know if it's a question? Let's see. Number one, are we going to wait outside? How do I know it's a question? How do I know that this sentence is a question? Because it starts with what? First of all, it has a capital letter, right? But if you look over here, it has the word are. Are is a word that you find in questions. And if you look at the end of the sentence, it has a question mark. Let's look at number two. Hi, how are you? So, hi, okay, so we don't see the word hi in questions, not usually, but we do see the word how. How is a word that you see in questions. And look over here, it ends with a question mark. So this sentence is special because in this sentence you have a capital letter, which is the H in hi, and then you have the word that is usually seen in a question. Even though it's not in a capital letter, that's okay. It still ends with a question mark and it actually has the word how, which is seen in questions. Let's look at number 3. Do you like him? Do you like him? Do. That is, let's call them question words. Let's call them question words, right? So I'm going to go back. These words, who, what, when, where, why, how, is, are, does, do, let's call them question words, right? Because those are words that we usually see in questions, question words. So number 3, it has a question word, do, and it starts with capital letter, ends with a question mark. Number 4, is this supposed to be funny? So that is definitely a question, right? Is this supposed to be funny? Why? Why is it a question? It starts with capital letter, right? And it doesn't have a question word. It doesn't have a question word like are. It doesn't have a question word like the word how or like the word do. But even though this doesn't have a question word, it is still a question because it ends with a question mark. You see? So that's always going to be your clue. Because it ends with a question mark, it's going to be a question, even though it doesn't have a question word like these. And the sentence still starts with a capital letter, you. Let's look at number 5. What is a box used for? So, what? That is definitely a question word. What is a question word? And it starts with the capital W, and then it ends with a question mark. So as you can see, all of these sentences end with question marks. Some of them have question words. Number 5 has the question word what. Number 3 has the question word do. Number 2 has the question word how. And number 1 has the question word are. Number 4 is the only sentence that doesn't have a question word, but it is still a question, right? It starts with capital letter and it ends in a question mark. Remember that the clue is always going to be the question mark. You see that question mark? It's going to be a question. Now let's look at this slide. How do I know if it's a statement? Remember that a statement tells you something. It gives you information. Okay, it starts with capital letter and it ends in a period. Let's look at number 1. My name is Henry. So my starts with capital letter M and the sentence ends in a period. Perfect. My name is Henry. What is the sentence telling you? It is telling you a name. It is telling you the name. My name is Henry. Number 2, there is a purple stain on that notebook. So it starts with capital letter, ends with a period. Number 3, Lazy Larry is my favorite show. Lazy starts with capital letter, ends with a period. That sentence ends in a period. It's telling you something. Lazy Larry is my favorite show. What is the sentence telling you? The sentence is telling you my favorite show. My favorite show is Lazy Larry. That's the information that it's giving you. It's giving you information about my favorite show. It's telling you that my favorite show is Lazy Larry. Number 4, I think I want pizza for breakfast. So it starts with capital letter I and then it ends with a period. It's telling you something. It's telling you that this person wants pizza for breakfast, which is super weird. Number 5, I don't feel so good. Starts with capital letter, ends in a period. What is the sentence telling you? The sentence is telling you that this person doesn't feel so good. So probably this person feels a little bit sick. Okay, end marks. Again, end marks in the statement has a period. So end marks are basically how the sentence ends. So if it is a statement, how does that end? It's going to end in a period. If it's a question, how does it end? It's going to end in a question mark. So statements, they tell you something, it's going to end in a period. Questions, they ask you something and they end in a question mark. Statements, they tell you something. They're not expecting you to answer anything because they're not asking you anything. The question asks you something, and so it is expecting a response. Now, this is going to be your assessment. It's page 11 from your workbook. It's called Statements and Questions. And you see this box over here? So this box tells you the definition of a statement, and it also tells you the definition of a question. When I say the word definition, it's basically it's the meaning. That's what it is. So that box tells you the meaning of statement and the meaning of question. It also gives you two examples, so you can use those two examples as a guide when you are doing this assessment. Now you're going to write the correct end mark in the blank space for each sentence. So you see these blank spaces. So you're going to write the correct end mark for each sentence. What is an end mark? Look over here. That's an end mark. If the sentence is a statement, then in that blank space, you're going to write a period. That's what you're going to do. You're going to do like a little ball. That's going to be a period. If the sentence is a question, then in the blank space, you're going to write a question mark. So that's what you're going to do in each of these blank spaces. Let's do number one. Martise and her sister have 3 dolls. Martise and her sister have 3 dolls. Do you think that's a statement or a question? Let's see. Martise and her sister have 3 dolls. I think that's a statement. So I would write the period. It's telling you something. It's not asking you anything. Let's look at number 4. Is it my turn to play? That kind of sounds like a question, right? Is it my turn to play? You see how the tone changes? The tone for a question changes. So number 4 would be a question, and in the blank space, I would write a question mark. That's exactly what you're going to do with the rest of the sentences, okay? Now you will turn this in. You have until January 20th to turn it in. You're going to turn it into LMS and PDF, and it's worth 10 points. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I will be available, okay? Bye, everyone.